Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everything is going well for you and yours. This is the portion of the show where we let YouTube send out the notifications via social media, let folks know that the broadcast is getting ready to start. We'll sit here and we'll count down the next 2 minutes before I push that button and go live. If you happen to be watching this on replay, go ahead and scrub past this graphic until you see my smiling face. If you have any questions and you're joining us today in the live chat, feel free to go ahead and add those questions to the live chat now, and we'll get to them in due course during this live Q&A session. So, sit back, relax, grab a beverage, and we'll get going in about 30 seconds. Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everybody is doing well. Oh man, look at that. Let me play with my camera a little bit here. This is always the professional, you know what I mean? All right, let me try to get rid of that glare from those lights. Okay, that's a little bit better. I really got to get my act together here and adjust things before I go live. Hope everybody's having a great day. This is inside baseball. This is absolutely nothing to do with anything. I love to come into the studio a bit early. You know, I go live at noon my time. So I come in somewhere around 11:30 and just see who's hanging out in here, if anybody's here early, and just, chat and hoot and holler and everything. But it's a double-edged sword because I start getting questions about various thises and that's, what's going on with the shop and what's going on with the projects and what have you. And it's hard for me not to start answering. And if I do that, I got nothing to talk about during the live Q&A. So that's why if I didn't answer a question that you had earlier, here in the chat, that's why, is because if I answer it then, there goes the live Q&A. So why have it, So, hope everybody's doing well again. Another little inside baseball housekeeping thing. I've got a brand new microphone and a new headset here, and I use the headset to monitor computer noises and other things that's going on in the background. So if my audio sounds a little different, it's because I got a brand new microphone, as you can see down here, and it's dedicated. It's going to stay out here. It's a newer version of the microphone I had in the other room. So the sound quality should be much, much better. So if I'm having any audio troubles, let me know. And I haven't seen anything over in the chat yet, so evidently this is sounding okay. So, okay, that being done, no video this morning. If you follow me on Facebook, you saw that I posted a picture of a little puppy. I love it. He's got a disgusted look on his face. I call it my "you've got to be flipping kidding me" face. When I when I started doing the video that I was going to post today, what I did, it just started to sound familiar. I recorded it, everything was great, and I'm sitting there editing it, and I'm thinking, this sounds familiar. That I just did this. This sounds familiar. So I went back and I found my video on the Kickstarter wizard that I did 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. I was going to do a video on adding Aspire to a second computer or to a computer that had not had it on there before. And it was the same thing. I was basically remaking the same video. The only difference being, if the computer you're putting Aspire on, or VCarve or Cut2D or whatever, if it can't go online, you download the files onto a thumb drive, take it out, plug it in, and transfer the files and load it that way. So I was remaking the video 2 weeks after I'd already made it. So there was no point in doing it. And I thought, well, heck, now I don't have a video to post Sunday. So here we are. It was exactly the same thing. So if you want to install Cut2D, VCarve, Aspire, whatever, on a second computer, go to that video and it'll tell you how to do it. So other than that, how was your day, Mark? Yeah, other than that, it was great. So here we are. Paul Coffey wanting to know what's next. It's the makeup artist. No, there's not. Max Factor himself couldn't fix this. Okay. I mean, I don't even shave every day. Yeah, makeup. That's good. Okay. Lot of questions here going on with the shop and what's going on with the shop shed and what have you. I've got to say that I haven't done anything on it in about a week because we've had some things with the house going on, some plumbing leaks. We have an old house and a roof leak and what have you. And we had the first appreciable amount of rain just over the last couple of days since June. So I was racing against the weather to get a few things done out in the yard, get landscaping done. I finally graveled in the trench for the French drain. That's installed in it's about halfway done now. Not quite halfway, but close to it. And I got more going on there. So I haven't been in here to do anything. But there are a lot of questions about what's going on with the shop shed. First off, Brooks said the shop shed motivated him to start his forging shed. Hey, that's part of what this was about. This whole shop shed series was never meant to be a look at me, see what I can do kind of a thing. It was supposed to be food for thought, in that you don't need to go out and hire a contractor or rent a bunch of heavy equipment and build a big old huge building. You can take what was supposed to be a storage shed for your backyard and you can make that into a work area. This is going to be predominantly a CNC shed. So a lot of my regular woodworking is still going to take place outside under an easy up, except for like the big tools that I can't roll outside, like the table saw behind me. And I've got a couple more tools that are coming over time. But if it's something simple, I'm using circular saws and crosscut, miter saws and what have you. I'll set up out in the I guess I'll call it my driveway, right out here in front of the shed on sawhorses, and do like I've been doing. I have no issue doing that. Then the subject came up about storage and everything else. Brooks also asked, did I hear you right? You have a separate material shed? No, not really. I have a 6x12 national brand tough shed. And it was built to be an augmentation to my old shed. And that's where I have my roll around toolboxes. I have my drill press in there. The compressor lives in there. And I've got two of the big 2-foot deep, 4-foot long steel shelves up against the back wall. And that is after I finally destroy this over glorified shipping container that I call a shed now. After I demolish that and get rid of it, that's going to be moved back up closer to this one. So it's step out one door, a couple steps into that door, and get into, I've got 3 big roll around tool chests full of, air tools and electrical tools and mechanics tools and all that other good stuff. So 60 years of stash accumulation, basically. And that leads into the discussion about how I'm going to store things here. I do have limited space. It's 12 by 16 at the end of the day. So I'm going to have to be smart about a few things. I'm in the process of designing an assembly table, an outfeed table for the table saw, but that's also going to have a lot of tool storage in it. So things like my random orbit sanders and different tools like that, hardware storage and what have you, is going to be in that assembly table. Now, last week, I alluded to the casters, and somebody said something about, you're using plastic casters? No, they're steel locking casters. The tires are polyurethane. Now, the center is plastic. The center hub of the wheel is plastic. But, it's a 500-pound caster, and I don't plan on, I'm not machining engines and stuff like that in here. It'll be more than stout enough for me to, rip a piece of plywood or smack together a jewelry box on. So, what can I say? All right, let's see here. But yeah, I'm going to try to hang as little on the walls as possible. Number one, because I only have 7-foot tall walls. So I had to keep the height down. Okay, this, again, more inside baseball stuff. I had to keep the overall height of the shed down because of zoning. If the shed overall is 10 feet or less above the surrounding grade, I'm exempt from the setback laws. So I don't have to keep 10 feet away from the fences. So I had to keep it less than 10 feet tall. That's why I've only got 7-foot walls, so I can have a 9.5-foot peak in the center of the roof, or 9 3/4, whatever. So I'm going to put some stuff on the walls. It's unavoidable, but it's not going to end up being pegboard with the silhouettes drawn out and all that other good stuff. That's not happening. French cleats, maybe on some things, yes. But, the only real full height walls I have are the end walls, and one of them's got double doors, so that's not going to happen. Okay, let's see here. Let's try to get into some other questions. Let me scroll back up here. Let's go down here. I got to try to catch up with you because y'all been commenting and everything else. Kurt Riegel says, yeah, on my walls, I use mostly French cleat system, easy to make, easy to use. I agree, and I do like French cleats also. Like I said, I have limited space. So let's see here. Let's go find some more questions here. I know there were some, and just catching up. Okay. Sandy Banker wants to know, how do we watch your older videos on beginning CNC in order? Okay. If you go to my channel page, just go to any video of mine and look right below the video pane, click on my name. That's a link. It'll take you to my main channel page. When you get there, look right below the banner photo and you'll see, I think it says home, videos, playlists. Look for the playlists link. Every video I've ever made is on a playlist. And I continue to add to those playlists. What you're looking for is Vectric for the Absolute Beginner playlist. If you click on that link to Vectric for the Absolute Beginner, it'll open up a list of all 50 of those videos in order, starting with number 1 at the top, all the way down to number 50 at the bottom. So I also did a video on this called Get the Most from My YouTube channel. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video as soon as we're done. And like a dummy, I didn't bring out a notepad to write notes. Oh boy, here we go. So I'm going to have to try to remember that. And none of us want that. But basically, yeah, go to my main channel page, click on playlists, and then select the Vectric for the Absolute Beginner playlist. And it'll bring up the list of all 50 of those videos in order, starting with number 1. So hope that helps. Okay, let's see what we got here. Bill Gray. Hi, Mark. I'm a beginner. Howdy. This week I started learning to cut chamfers. I believe I understand the settings and have tried to cut several, but my sides are not coming out even. VCarve 11.0 center. As far as chamfering is concerned, using the chamfer toolpath, I have not used it yet. I am old school. I still go back with a handheld trim router with a 45 degree or 90 degree chamfer bit. 45 degree, I guess it would be. Yeah, included angle. Not total angle, included angle. I still go back with a handheld trim router and do that. The way I have done chamfers in the past has been to create a vector where I want that chamfer and then use a 90 degree V-bit and determine how tall I want that chamfer to be. That's my cut depth, and I cut on the vector. I have not, I'm got to claim ignorance. I have not used the chamfer toolpath yet, but that is something I am going to be working on. Now, having said that, depending upon how uneven they are, you can go back with like an emery board or a very fine file and kind of sand them up a little bit to make them match up. I use emery boards a lot and even make my own with a popsicle stick and some 3M spray 77 adhesive and sandpaper and just kind of spot sand here and there. I will get into the chamfer toolpath and get busy with it, but I just haven't used it yet to be able to give you a definitive answer. So I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, thank you for that. That's my, that is my better half making rude, crude, and socially unacceptable comments in the chat. It was her birthday yesterday, so slam her with happy birthday notices. Thank you very much. Let's see. Get back down to all right. Russell Faraday says, I'm struggling with levels, limit levels, and the tilt and fade of them. Looking for a tutorial that covers it. G-code ran too late to formulate a good, concise question. Okay. I would, working with the levels, and Russell's talking about in 3D modeling, what I would do is I would refer you to Michael Mazalik's video series on 3D modeling. He did, and the title of the video, which episode it was, escapes me, but he talked specifically about working with levels and tilt and fade. And I believe that was in the same video. I would encourage you to, well, number one, Michael Mazalik is having he's premiering his latest video today at, let's see, 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern. And when you go over and watch that video, as you should, um, again, click on his name. That'll take you to his main channel page. And I would search back through that. I don't have anything on fade and tilt just yet. That will be coming. But yeah, that would be your best bet. I know he did at least one video on tilt and fade. So, and he's my 3D guru. I don't bug him as often as I should, but you know, what can I say? Okay, let's see here. Lewis Denton wants to know, in the create line, polyline, what are the DX and DY buttons? Well, let's take a look. I will do a share screen here and get in to Aspire. And what he's talking about is in this.
You froze up. Are you back on?
Did I freeze up?
You froze up.
Let's see. Did I freeze up, or am I having issues here? Buffering. Let me take a look. Okay. Am I buffering? Is there any issues going on here? Y'all? Linda just popped outside and said, "Hey, you're buffering, defreezed up." Or anybody seeing that? And I'll give you a chance to answer. Buffering prob. Okay, just for a few seconds, you're okay now. All right. Okay, I don't know what was going on there. Okay, well, I apologize for that. Lewis Denton, thank you very much for the super sticker. I really, really appreciate it. You guys that hit the super stickers and the super chats and the donate links down in the description, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Get back up here to the DX and the DY buttons. Now, let me go back over here. God, I need to get me a Stream Deck and get it rigged to work with StreamYard. Okay, here we go. We're talking about the DX and the DY buttons. Okay, when you create a line or a polyline, you've got several ways of doing this. And I need to get into this a little bit further, a little bit deeper, because there are some things that have changed. Okay. And so you can enter XY coordinates up here if you know them. For instance, I want to start a line here on my X0, Y0. So I'll click X0, Y0, then click add, and it starts a polyline right there. Okay. Now I can make my next point, let's say X1, Y -1. Click add, and it adds a point down there at that coordinate. Okay. I could also enter for my next point, I could enter an angle, let's say 45 degrees, and a length, let's say 1. Click add, and it made another point 45 degrees off of that point and 1 inch away from this point. Now, where you get into DX and DY, if you look at this here, this display down below, what DX and DY are doing is showing the direction in each axis. So if I go DX, let's go 1, and dy1, click add, it went 1 inch. Where'd it go? It went 1 inch up following this direction and 1 inch out from that last point. Does that make sense? Let me hit spacebar to end that line. Excuse me. Let me close this and we'll go back in and I'll do that fresh. Delete these. We'll come back here and I have to start a point. I can't go into any of these. I have to start with a point. So I'll just put a point right here. Now I can come in dx and I'll go -1 and I'll just enter 0 so we see what dx does. And we'll click add. And all it did was it made 1 point, -1, relative to where it started. It's not going, this is an easier way to explain it. It's not going by the Cartesian coordinate system. So I said 0 in y, which means from this point right here, my start point, it didn't change. But I said -1 on my dx, which means relative to this point, it went over 1 inch and made the second point. So spacebar to end that. No, not doing that. Okay. There we go. Spacebar to end that line. So in other words, I take my start point here and I want to make another point 1 inch positive over here and 1 inch above up here. I can go dx1, dy1, click add, and it made that second point. You can take a measurement relative to the previous point and enter them in dx and dy. If you wanted to stay on the same plane in y, you would enter dy0. If you wanted to stay on the same plane in x, you would enter 0 and just give your change in the opposite one. So I hope that answers that. Is that what you were looking for? I hope that's what you were looking for. So let's see. Let's come back up here. And that was Lewis. Let's see. There were some others. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Todd for Freedom. Hi, Mark. Your work and teaching is amazing. Thank you. Does vcarve automatically set depths for the carve? And is it changed by the start depth? Where do you get so much inspiration for your projects? Okay, several different questions here. We'll start with the very beginning. vcarve doesn't automatically set any depths for the carve at all, with one exception, and that is the vcarve toolpath. And I did a video on this a few years back. It's one of my more popular videos, in fact. It's V-carving for the absolute beginner. Episode 1, how does it work? The depth of cut is set by the angle of the V-bit and the width between the two vectors you're trying to carve between. The more space between them, the deeper the bit will cut, because it's cutting, the V is writing on those two vectors. The closer together, the shallower it'll cut. The other factor is the angle of the bit. A 90-degree V bit is going to cut shallower than a 60-degree, which is going to cut shallower than a 30-degree. Because the bit has to physically plunge deeper to get that angle to write on those vectors. So that's the only depth it sets automatically. let me rephrase that. The 3D roughing and finishing toolpaths also set automatically, but they're based on the contours that you're trying to carve. Is it changed by the start depth? Yes, it is. For instance, if a V-bit with a start depth of 0 is going to carve a 1/4 of an inch deep, if you put a start depth of a 1/4 of an inch, it's going to plunge down to that 1/4 inch and think that's where it's supposed to start. Then it's going to cut a 1/4 inch deeper than that. So your start depth will affect how deeply it cuts, but only for all of them, actually. It is going to affect it. Normally, if you're just carving into the surface, you want a start depth of 0. Normally, not all the time. As far as where I get the inspiration for projects, I just talk to people. They'll tell you what they want. And I tell folks that are just getting started. I tell folks this is legitimately, and if you build it, they will come hobby. Because once people start seeing what you can do with a CNC router, they'll come up with 1,000 projects that they need yesterday. And it's also a lesson in discipline because you have to learn how to say no. You know, I have 5 kids, 6 grandkids, and believe me, if I didn't say no, I wouldn't get anything done. I'd be constantly working on their projects. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. But that's also where I get my inspiration for all these projects. I see a need or somebody will ask me for something, and now I got to go figure out how to make it. One of my first 2-sided machining videos, I saw something, I don't even remember where I saw it. It was wooden lids to be used in home canning jars. And just cut out the piece. It's a circle, very simple. And you glue the lid of the jar inside this wooden jar lid top. My wife has become a tea snob. She likes her tea. So I've got some wood we got over in Hawaii after a big storm. It's rare and a rare exotic that you can't buy. So I said, why not? You know, what are you saving that wood for? Make her a project. So I made some 4 lids that'll just screw down onto a home canning jar. It was a need. She wanted it. She liked it. But that opened up the door. Now she wants a little hanging shelf to put those 4 jars on and hang her coffee scoop that she uses to scoop out the tea leaves for when she makes tea. So that's where the inspiration comes from. It just keeps multiplying. I mean, as time goes on, I find more things to make. And that'll happen to you too. I mean, you'll make one thing and that'll make somebody else think of, well, could you do this, this, and this and make me that? Sure. Let's talk, you know? So, RB Woodwork, is that zoning for outbuildings only or all buildings? I see a lot of homes down there 3 feet from their neighbor's fence. It has to do with the zoning in my little town. We're in an urban corridor, and outbuildings have to be, the primary residence can be closer, but outbuildings have to be in this location, 6 feet from side boundaries, 10 feet from the back boundary. So, but if you keep it under a certain height, you're exempt from those setbacks. So that's where that is. Mainly for outbuildings. There is also something called a 0 lot line. You have to get special zoning for it, but you can actually build a building right on the property line. So, and some people in crowded urban places are doing that. So, but that is special zoning. You do have to get an exemption to do that. So let's see. Fozzie Bear LaPlante wants to know, is it possible to do a four-sided model without slicing? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that is simply the way you import the model. You can import each of the four sides separately and run them with, now, if you're using Aspire, oh, no, I believe you still have to do, well, no, not with slicing now. You would just import it and have the first side facing up, second side facing up on a new import it, third side facing up, etc. So yes, you can do it. You just have to kind of be creative about it. So let's see here. Let's see. Everybody wishing Linda happy birthday. That's how far behind I am. See. And we'll find it. Okay, got all my questions about buffering done. Okay. 3D printing for life. Hope you're well. I'm very well. What maximum depth do you aim for when V-carving with a 60 and 90 degree bit? I generally speaking, not always, but I generally speaking go for a flat depth of 0.1 of an inch and use a 1/8 end mill for clearance. Usually, there are exceptions to that, in which case I don't try to regulate any kind of a maximum depth. Let the bit do what it will. But if I'm going to carve to a flat depth, 0.1, which is just slightly shallower than 1/8 of an inch, is plenty for anything and any project that I've ever created. You don't have to have a lot of relief to make it look nice. Is what I guess is what I'm saying. Steve Perdue, as Linda is some of your inspiration, she should have a little camera time. She doesn't want camera time. She has a YouTube channel and she's posted 3 or 4 videos over there. She just doesn't, I'm doing this to me. I don't have the right to do this to her. That's why she has only appeared in 1 video on my channel. And that was when my ceiling video here in the shed, she helped me hang the lights because I couldn't hold them in the right position and drill and drive screws at the same time. So the back of her head and maybe a little bit of a profile was in that video. But I'm doing this for me. She doesn't want camera time. In fact, inside baseball again, when I wired this up, I have 2 porch lights out here by the man door. One of them, closest to the corner of the building, has a red LED light bulb in it. I flip that switch and turn on the red LED when I'm broadcasting or when I'm recording out here. So she doesn't have to be on camera. So, and looking at it now, I forgot to turn it on. Uh-oh. But what can I say? Yeah, she doesn't want camera time. So let's see here. Scott Mallock wants to know, do you know where to get the 30 degree V bit that Andy Johnson used in his UMG? No, I do not. I don't know if you've reached out to him about that. I don't know where, but just look up 30 degree V bit. And, there are plenty of manufacturers out there. I am not brand loyal when it comes to bits and blades and things like that. They're a consumable item. They're going to wear out. They're going to need resharpening and they're going to need replacement. So if I find a 30 degree V bit for a decent price, I'll try it. And there are a ton of them. There are a ton of 30 degree V bits out there. So, I've got a few, but I couldn't give you a source. I don't remember where I got them from. I'll look for some, but as far as what Andy uses, I would reach out to Andy and ask him specifically. Let's see here. kind of scroll down. Okay, I think I'm getting caught up. If I did not get your question, please post it again. I think I am caught up. He says, let's see here. I see Michael Mazalik is joined us. That's good. We had somebody ask about doing a 4-sided 3D carving without slicing. That's more your line of question than mine. I basically said import it 4 times in 4 different orientations and go for it if you can't do slicing. So let's see. Lawrence Hagan says, thanks for your videos. You're welcome. I'm making some round clocks. So am I. When I cut them out, I'm trying to do a last pass of 0.010. Do I need to do this in the positive or negative? That depends on how you have your profile toolpath set up. If you're cutting to the outside of the vector, machining to the outside, it'll be a positive number. If you're machining to the inside of the vector, it'll be a negative number. My profile cutouts, I can't think of any time I've ever machined inside the vector. They're all to the outside. And so I use a positive number. And that's what I use as well, 010, 10 thousandths of an inch. That's just enough to get rid of any witness marks where the bit is stepping down or even just plunging straight in. I use a separate last pass with a smooth ramp over a distance of 4 times the bit's diameter. So if it's an 1/8 inch bit, that would be what, 1/2 inch? Yeah, if it's a 1/4 inch bit, that's 1 inch. But a smooth ramp with a separate last pass of 0.010, that's what I use, and it works very well. Let's see. Freddie Joseph Ministry, can excess feed rate make me lose steps in Z-axis? Yes, it can. A lot of things can make you lose steps in the Z-axis. But that's, well, let me qualify that. And I'm going to be that guy. This is semantics. I think you mean plunge rate. Plunge rate, I usually set for half my feed rate. There is one exception. And the plunge rate is at what speed your bit plunges down into the material. On just about everything, I have my plunge rate set to be half of my feed rate. The exception is 3D finishing toolpaths. The CNC router is going to cut at the speed of the slowest axis. And the slowest axis is almost always the Z. On a 3D carve, the Z is in almost constant motion. So you can set your feed rate for 500 inches per minute, but if your plunge rate is at 50, the whole thing is going to run at 50 inches per minute because it's going to move at the rate of the slowest axis. So when I'm doing a 3D finishing toolpath, I set my plunge rate to the exact same as my feed rate. So other than that, it's half my feed rate. But yes, there's a lot of things that can make you lose steps on the Z-axis. There's a number of factors. Communication issues with the if it's web-based or gerbil control. If you're using a UC100, miscommunication there. If you are taking your file out to your control computer on a flash drive and you're trying to run it from the flash drive, unless it's one of those proprietary drives, like I think it's Laguna. You have I may be wrong, it may be Legacy. You have the pendant, you plug the flash drive into the pendant and it loads the file from there. Mine, I use Mach 3, so I plug a flash drive into the computer, transfer the file off of the flash drive onto the computer and run it from the computer. Flash drives can be a shaky option. So hope that answered that. But yes, it could. Let's see. RB Woodworks. I'm still having issues when adding layers. Even if all the layers are turned off, when I add a new layer, one or several of the other layers will show up and I have to turn them off again. It has to be me. So you'll turn off all the layers, then add a new layer and it'll turn some on again. I've never paid attention. I don't know if mine does that or not. I'll have to look. I don't know. Have you sent an email to Vectric support to see what they say about it? I've never paid attention. I don't know. Does it do that? I don't know. Does it not do that? I'll have to look into that. Let's see. Michael says the four-sided process can be one option. Yeah, I've not tried to do a four-sided 3D carve. So I mean, and that's what I say, and that's what I mean in my little disclaimer down at the bottom of the in the description. I am not a CNC expert and I'm not a Vectric expert. I know what I have done. But if I haven't done it, I don't guess, So I have never attempted to do a four-sided 3D carve. So I can't give an honest answer. So let's see. I think I've caught up. Preach, sister. Okay, I think I have cut off. Okay, T Button says his does too. So it may be something within the software there, Robert. So I would shoot a email to Vectric support and see what they say. It may be that that's supposed to happen. Why, I don't know. You would think if I've shut it off, that means I want it shut off. Why are you turning it back on? I don't know. And maybe it's just something that they, forgot to address from an earlier version. I think I have caught up on all of the questions. Don Harding says the most inspiration that I've received is from Design and Make. Fantastic art models. When you're talking about 3D, I agree with you, Don. Big time. And that's Todd and a few other designers from all over that are the lead designers for Design and Make. They do some good models. And, they are, they know what they're doing. So, well, let's see. Okay. Russell Faraday says the four-sided project is why I'm looking into limit levels. Yeah. Michael just foreshadowing here. The four-sided project, he was also looking at better explanation for levels and tilt and fade. And I have not done a video on tilt and fade, and I know you have. I don't remember if it's a single video or multiple videos that focused on tilt and fade. I don't remember if tilt was in one and fade was in the other or which, but I'm sending them your way. Michael is my 3D Obi-Wan. Okay, I think I've caught up on all of the questions. So I will just remind you that, speaking of Michael, he is premiering part 4 of the U.S. Air Force. Let's see, how did it go? Chief Flight Nurse badge. So that'll be at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, over on Michael's YouTube channel. And there's a link to that video in the description of this video. I'm going to try like heck to remember to put those other links in the description of this video, and I've already forgotten one. I'll go back and watch the video and get the right links put up there. No, it was V Carving for the Absolute Beginner, episode 1, how it works. That's what it was. Let's see. So I hope to see you all over at Michael's video in a little over an hour. And we'll hoot and holler over there in the chat while he's trying to teach us something. And there was one other thing I was going to mention. Oh, yeah. 2 things. No, the CNC hasn't been moved yet. As I said, we've got the first appreciable rain since June, so that was a complete and total washout. I am not going to, I'm finished. I'm done. I'm not going to be predicting when I'm going to make the move. I'll let you know after the fact. Because every time I say, yeah, next weekend, something happens and it's not next weekend. The other thing is, I don't know what next week's video is going to be about. So you'll be surprised as I am when it finally comes out. So I wanted to thank everybody again for those super chats and hitting those super stickers and hitting those donate links down in the description of these videos. I appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. I want to thank everybody who's watching the videos, everybody who is sharing the videos. You guys are all making all of this possible for me. I'm just some old retired guy in a new shed now. And the love and support you guys have shown me is just absolutely amazing to me. I really appreciate it. Appreciate every one of you. So with all that being said, see you over at Michael's video. Other than that, have a great day. Have a great week. And go do something cool. Make some sawdust, man. And post pictures. Internet law number 1, pics or it didn't happen. Catch y'all later.